Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cullen.
Which case are we hearing first, gentlemen?
Whichever one, whoever the jail brings in. I mean, Sebastian Herrera's on. So
So they're in the Moore County Jail. Do you have anyone there handy? Any of the defendants? We're looking for Sebastian Herrera, Sergio Aldaba, and Jorge Matapayan.
I will go get Herrera first.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Dan, do you need an interpreter for any of these?
nope.
Error exists in this document. Please contact the person who created the PDF. Dan, could you email or have your office email the plea paperwork to the judge? There's a problem with the PDF. It didn't scan properly.
Wait, I can see it, I just can't sign it. I can download it. For some reason, it's not letting me sign it in the queue, but I can look at it, and then afterwards I'll print it out and sign it and get Jackie to e-file it. Does that make sense?
Do you want me to email it right now, Judge?
No, I actually was able to download it. I just, for some reason, can't sign it in the queue. So I'm just going to refer to it, and then I will, after we're done, I'll print it out, sign it, and get Jackie to e-file it.
That sounds good to me, Judge.
Okay? Well, it's, yeah, the print's on the judgment. I don't.
Good morning. Are you Sebastian Herrera?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Mr. Herrera, can you look in, do you see on the screen your lawyer? Can you see your lawyer, Mr. Seeloff?
Yes.
Hello.
Dan said something.
Hello.
I see him.
Do you see him? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Be sure and speak loudly enough so that everyone can hear you, please.
Yes,
Give me
ma'am.
just a second. I'm still trying to download the stipulations. There you go. Sir, for the record, are you Sebastian Herrera?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, thank you. The court will now call case number 6074, the state of Texas versus Sebastian Herrera. Is the state ready to proceed?
Date's ready, Your Honor.
And is defense ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Herrera, in cause number 6074, you have been charged with possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1. That is a state jail felony. that is punishable by imprisonment in the State Jail Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a term not to exceed 2 years or less than 180 days. In addition, the court can assess a fine not to exceed $10,000. Sir, if you were charged with this offense by an indictment. Do you want that indictment read to you, or do you waive the reading of that indictment?
I'll waive the reading.
Mr. Herrera, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I will ask you how you plead to that charge, guilty or not guilty.
I plead guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes.
Has anyone pressured you in any way to get you to make that plea?
No, ma'am.
Right, Mr. Herrera, I have in front of me a document called a felony plea of guilty, waiver, stipulation, and judicial confession. It appears to have your signature on it. Did you sign that document?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And have you gone over this document thoroughly with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And so you would agree with me that in this document you reiterate that you plead guilty, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And also that you waive certain rights that you have, such as the right to a trial by jury.
Yes, ma'am.
And you stipulate or you agree that all of the evidence the state has against you is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, Mr. Herrera, you tell me that you believe you are mentally capable of understanding everything that's going on here today.
Yes, ma'am. I believe I understand.
All right. Mr. Seeloff, have you consulted with your client and advised him of his rights?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Do you believe him to be mentally competent?
I do, Your Honor.
And do you approve of him signing these stipulations before the court today?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Does the state concur?
State concurs, Your Honor.
Mr. Herrera, I will sign these stipulations and enter them into the court's record as State's Exhibit Number 1. Mr. Cook, is there a plea agreement in this case?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state has agreed to recommend to the court that the defendant be sentenced to confinement in a state jail facility of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 12 months. However, that sentence be suspended for a period of 3 years, placing the defendant on community supervision, a $1,500 fine assessed against the defendant, court fees and costs to be paid by the defendant as reflected in the bill of costs attached to the judgment, and $180 in restitution to be paid to the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Mr. Herrera, you've heard Mr. Cook, an assistant district attorney, announce a plea agreement. Is that the plea agreement that you reached with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you concur, Mr. Seeloff?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Herrera, I will follow the recommendation of the district attorney's office, and I will find you guilty of the offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1 in an amount less than 1 gram. I will sentence you to serve 12 months in the State Jail Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. However, I will suspend that period of confinement and instead place you on probation for a period of 3 years. I order you to pay a $1,500 fine. I order you to pay $180 in restitution to the Texas Department of Public Safety for their costs in testing the drugs. I also order that you pay any fees and costs in the bill of costs attached to your judgment. Mr. Herrera, while you're on probation for that 3-year period, it is crucial that you follow all of the terms and conditions of probation. That includes just simply reporting every month and paying your $60 fee every month. and and of course, staying away from drugs. And there are other rules and regulations. So long as you can do that, then you will never have to serve that year in jail. However, if you do violate a rule and the state can prove it, then your probation will be revoked and you will be sent to state jail. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any questions about this judgment?
No, ma'am.
Sir, have you been satisfied with your representation by Mr. Seeloff?
Yes, I have.
And has he done everything that you asked him to do?
Yes, he has.
Is there anything further from the state?
Nothing further on this matter, Your Honor.
And anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Herrera, you may be excused. Before you're released from jail, someone from probation will come talk to you and we'll go over all of these rules with you. And please make sure you're clear on them and ask her any questions you might have.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll just let the officer know that we're done now, and she'll bring in the next person, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Herrera.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Could you tell me your name, please?
Jorge Armando Mata Payan.
Okay, Mr. Matapayan, do you see your lawyer on the screen there? Dan, if you'll say something.
Hello.
Yes.
You see him there?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
The court will now call case number 6136, the state of Texas versus Sergio Antonio Aldaba. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
6136 and 6140, 64, 67.
This is Mr. Mata.
Oh, this is.
Did you say Mr. Matapayan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, then let me pull it.
6524.
Good. The court will call not the case I just stated, but instead case number 6524, the state of Texas versus Jorge Armando Matapayan. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
And is defense ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
And sir, for the record, are you Jorge Armando Matapayan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, you have been charged in this case with credit card or debit card abuse of the elderly. That is a third-degree felony. which means that it is punishable by imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division for a term not to exceed 10 years and not less than 2 years. In addition, the court can order you to pay a fine not more than $10,000. Sir, you have been charged with this offense by an indictment. Do you want that document read to you, or do you waive the reading of that document?
Waive it.
All right. Mr. Matapayan, are you a U.S. citizen?
Permanent resident.
Sir, do you understand if you plead guilty to this offense, you can be deported?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you also understand if for some reason you're not deported, you may not be able to obtain citizenship?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir, I'll ask you how you plead to this charge, guilty or not guilty.
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened you or pressured you in any way to get you to make this plea?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Matapayan, I'm looking at a document called a felony plea of guilty waiver stipulation and judicial confession. You recognize the name of the document? It's a lengthy document that sets out your rights and which rights you're waiving, and it appears to have your signature on it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you gone over that document with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is that in fact your signature on that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so sir, would you agree with me that in this document, you tell me again that you plead guilty, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You waive some rights you have under state law, such as the right to a jury trial, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You stipulate or you agree that all of the evidence the state has that you committed this crime, all of the evidence is true.
Yes, Your Honor.
And finally, you tell me that you believe you're mentally competent or mentally capable of understanding what's going on in court today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Mr. Seeloff, have you consulted with your client and advised him of his rights?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And do you believe him to be mentally competent?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And do you approve of him signing these stipulations before the court today?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Does the state concur?
State concurs, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Matapayan, I am signing these stipulations, and I will enter them into the court's record as State's Exhibit Number 1. Mr. Cook, is there a plea agreement in this case?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state has agreed to recommend to the court that the defendant be placed on deferred adjudication community supervision for a period of 5 years. No fine assessed against the defendant, however, a $50 Crime Stoppers repayment fine to be paid by the defendant. Additionally, $6,000 in restitution to be paid by the defendant to one Silvia Juarez de Balderrama, and payment of court fees and costs as reflected in the bill of costs attached to the judgment to be paid by the defendant.
Mr. Matapayan, you've just heard Mr. Cook, an assistant district attorney, announce a plea agreement. Was that the plea agreement that you reached with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you agree, Mr. Seeloff, that that was the plea?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Matapayan, I will follow the recommendation of the district attorney's office, and I will not find you guilty today of that charge. and I will defer a finding of guilt or put off a finding of guilt for a period of 5 years, and instead I will place you on probation for that 5-year period. Now that's a long period of time, but it's important that you follow all of the probation rules for that entire 5-year period, because if not, if you don't follow those rules and the state can prove it, then I can sentence you up to the full 10 years in prison. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's crucial that you do everything, including, at a minimum, reporting every month and paying your fees every month. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, I'm also going to order you to pay $6,000 in restitution to Sylvia Juarez de Balderrama. You can talk to probation about paying that out over the term of your probation. I also order you to pay a $50 Crime Stoppers fee and any fees and costs that are in the bill of costs attached to this order. Mr. Matapayan, do you have any questions about any of that?
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
All right, before you are released from jail, a probation officer will come by and talk to you, and she will go over all of these terms of probation with you. Please be sure and ask her any questions you might have.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'll ask you also, have you been satisfied with your representation by Mr. Seeloff?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Has he done everything you asked him to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Matapayan, you may be excused. Best wishes to you on probation. I hope it all goes well.
Thank you, Your Honor. God bless.
Can you gentlemen tell that I have signed 3 motions to adjudicate this morning because I promptly went on probation and never reported and never paid?
No, can't
I
tell.
mean, just my goodness.
I think they're starting to get the message, Judge. Slowly but surely.
My goodness. Half of that. I'm just going to have to print off all these and sign them.
Good morning. Could you please state your name, sir?
My name is Sergio Aldaba.
Mr. Aldaba, do you see your lawyer on the screen there? Dan, can you say something?
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
You
Yes,
see
yes.
him?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Judge Allen, and we'll get started with your plea.
Good morning. The court will now call case number 6136 and 6467, the state of Texas versus Sergio Antonio Aldaba. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
And is defense ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Aldaba, for the record, are you Sergio Antonio Aldaba?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Mr. Aldaba, you have been charged in case number 6136 with the offense of possessing a prohibited substance in a correctional facility. That's a third-degree felony, which means it's punishable by imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division for a term not more than 2 years, but up to 10 years and not less than 2 years. In addition, the court can order you to pay a fine not to exceed $10,000. And in cause number 6467, you have been charged with failure to appear. That is also a third-degree felony, and so it has the same range of punishment, not less than 2 years and up to 10 years in prison, and a maximum fine of $10,000. Sir, you've been charged with both of these offenses by an indictment. Do you want that indictment read to you in either of those cases, or do you waive the reading of that indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
You waive it?
No.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
okay, do you want the district attorney to read you those documents or not?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right, then I'm going to ask you first, how do you plead to the charge of possessing a prohibited substance in a correctional facility? Guilty or
Your
not
Honor.
guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And what do you plead to the charge of failure to appear? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty to those charges because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes, Your Honor, I am guilty.
Has anyone threatened you or pressured you to get you to make that plea?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Aldaba, in both of these cases, I have a document called a felony plea of guilty waiver stipulation and judicial confession. And both of these documents appear to have your signature on them. Did you sign those documents?
Yes, Your Honor, I signed those documents.
And did you go over, before you signed it, did you go over this document very thoroughly with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
And so would you agree with me that in both of these documents, and they're identical, you tell me that you plead guilty, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, I plead guilty.
And you waive certain rights that you have under Texas law, such as a jury trial, is that right?
That's right.
And you stipulate or you agree that all of the evidence the state has that you committed these two crimes is true. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And also, Mr. Aldaba, you're telling me that you believe you are mentally capable of understanding everything that's going on today. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Seeloff, I'll ask you, have you consulted with your client and advised him of his rights
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
in both of these cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you believe him to be mentally competent?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And do you approve of him signing both sets of these stipulations before the court today?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Cook, does the state concur?
Under both causes before the court today, state concurs, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Aldaba, I am signing both sets of stipulations, and I'm entering them into the court's record as State's Exhibit Number 1. Mr. Cook, are there plea agreements in these cases?
Yes, Your Honor. Under cause number 6136, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state has agreed to recommend to the court that the defendant be sentenced to a period of confinement of 5 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Correctional Institutions Division. However, that sentence be suspended, placing the defendant on community supervision for a period of 5 years. A $1,750 fine assessed against the defendant, along with $180 in restitution to be paid by the defendant to the Texas Department of Public Safety, payment of any court costs and fees, and the bill of costs attached to the judgment to be paid by the defendant. Additionally, the state would note that this case 6136 is to run concurrent with Moore County cause number 6467. Under cause number 6467, the state, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, has agreed to recommend to the court that this defendant be sentenced to a period of confinement of 5 years with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Correctional Institutions Division. However, that sentence be suspended, placing the defendant on community supervision for a period of 5 years. A $2,000 fine assessed against the defendant, payment of any court costs and fees, and the bill of costs attached to the judgment to be paid by the defendant. And the state would note that this case 6467 is to run concurrent with Moore County cause number 6136, Your Honor.
Mr. Adaba, you've just heard Mr. Cook, an assistant district attorney, announce a plea agreement. Is that the plea agreement that you reached with him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you concur, Mr. Seeloff?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Adaba, I will follow the recommendation of the district attorney. And in cause number 6136, I find you guilty of the offense of prohibited substance or item in a correctional facility. And I sentence you to 5 years to serve in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. However, I will suspend that confinement and place you on probation for 5 years, which means as long as you follow the terms and conditions of probation, you will not have to serve that 5 years in prison. I also order that you pay a $1,750 fine and $180 in restitution to the Texas Department of Public Safety, to the DPS, for testing the drugs. Do you have any questions about that judgment?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to tell you, in this case and in the next one, it's very important that you follow probation's rules. Because if you don't and the state can prove it, then the agreement you just made with the state to follow the rules or go to prison for 5 years means you violated your part of the agreement and you'll go to prison for 5 years. Do you understand that?
I understand that. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm also going to note that this sentence I just imposed is going to run concurrently with the sentence I'm about to impose in case number 6467, assuming that there's no questions about that judgment. On this case, is there anything further from the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And is there anything further from defense?
No, Your Honor.
Right. In case number 6467, I will follow the recommendation of the district attorney's office, and I will again find you guilty of the offense of failure to appear, and I will sentence you to serve 5 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Correctional Institutions Division, or Institutional Division, but I will suspend that term of confinement for 5 years and place you on probation. Again, you must follow all of the probation rules to avoid having to spend that 5 years in prison. I order in this case that you pay a $2,000 fine. Both of those fines can be paid out over the term of your probation. And again, I've ordered that this sentence run concurrently with the sentence I just imposed in case number 6136. Do you have any questions about that judgment?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything further from the state in this case?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Is there anything further from defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Aldaba, in both of these cases, have you been satisfied with your representation by Mr. Seeloff?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has he done everything that you asked him to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
But Mr. Aldaba, before you're released from jail, a probation officer will come talk to you. She will go over all of these rules with you. Please ask her any questions you might have.
Yes.
Some of the rules are more difficult than others, but at the very least, report every month. You can do it online. If you
Yes,
can't pay your fee, your $60 fee, let them know why. Do you understand that?
I understand that, Your Honor.
Okay, sir. Well, best wishes to you on probation. I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Court is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.